Hey everyone, welcome back to Nerd Dad Book Club. This is part 3 of our dive into Ernest Cline's Ready Player One. We're going to be talking about chapters 11 through 16, or what's in the book described as the last chapters of level 1. So I will again talk about my feelings on what we just got done reading, post a question for you to discuss with your kids if you're reading the book along with them, and then tell you about what we're going to be reading for next week. So I'm just going to jump right on into it. I think I can do this without making any cuts or anything. We're just going to kind of gun through what my feelings are with the book right now. And the first time we met, I was really excited. The second time we met, when it was chapters 6 through 10, I think it was, I was kind of bummed out on the direction it was going. And now I'm really mixed. What I really enjoyed about this part of the book, there was a lot less time spent on describing the game. I mentioned this last week. I really don't want to read about the journey into the video game, especially if they're not going to tie in the real world elements. Just reading about somebody playing a video game is not that exciting to me. Yes, it's a virtual reality world and it's very immersive to the player, but to me it's like just reading somebody playing a video game or like a massive multiplayer online game. It's just not that engrossing to me just to read what a game details are. So I'm glad that at least in this part it dealt a lot less with that and more the characters in the story now knowing where they are in their journey in the game and what that means to them, and also like the social ramifications of getting this far in this really popular game, the most popular game in the world, and how their lives are going to be changing. That's what I really enjoyed. I also liked how they dove into the history of the co-founder of the Oasis company, his backstory, his relationship to Halliday, and how everything fell apart. I'm interested to see where that goes, because they obviously didn't bring that up just to leave it in these chapters. So I like that. That excites me, and I'm interested where it's going moving forward. There's a couple really big hangups I have now with the story, though. One is with the IOI, the villains, the antagonists in the story. And yes, this is a post-apocalyptic story about a video game, and so it's kind of absurdist in nature, but it's something about them just being such the corporate bad guy and evil money and corporations are evil, that it just comes off very tired and lazy. The meeting that they had in that separate world really was rather dull, because there's been so many stories. If this is the first time I've read a story where the corporations are evil, maybe I would find it more interesting. But because they're so two-dimensional in how evil they are, and the big twist in, I think it was chapter 13 or 14, where they have the meeting and then they're like, oh, we know who you are and we're gonna take you out, we're gonna kill you if you don't join us, Wade. And then the stack blows up but Wade's not there, and that just came off incredibly hokey and just really tired. I keep going back to thinking about the Hunger Games books and President Snow and the military rule in that story. And while that was hokey, it was layered. And the reasoning on why they act the way that they do. So in this story, it's just, we are a corporation, we have money, we want more money, we are therefore evil. It's just really dull and disappointing. And the other, another big thing, I'm still not engaged in our main characters. I think Ake is the one that I'm most interested in. He seems like the most interesting, but even he is a very shallow character. A lot of characters in the story I just don't care about yet. I want to get to that point, but I think the lack of backstory, or there was some, like in the first part, there was some discussion about how rough of life Wade had, but I've yet to be really invested in his character or anybody else for that matter. And so that's making it a little bit tricky for me to really get behind this journey. Hopefully that changes and we'll find out more. I'm really hoping we find out like there's a twist with some of the other characters we have met. Maybe one of them works for the IOI and then they explain why they do. That would be interesting. I'm just everybody. It's not only is this story like reading about somebody playing a video game. This is also a story about the people that play the video games, and they're not very interesting people that are playing the video games. They're just video game players, and that's the extent of who they are, and it hasn't been very interesting to me. The other thing that I'm really getting hung up on is the fact that this is a artificial world and it's all connected to the internet. And I know that in the way that current internet works, there's the internet and there's the dark web. There's the underbelly off the beaten track, and also with the internet, the ways that people can hack into every piece of technology that we own. And the fact that the Oasis seems to be, yes, the IOI has ways of tracking who people are based off of their profiles. There hasn't yet been any hacking or manipulation of the game. Another story or series of stories that I keep thinking about when I'm reading this book is the Matrix, and how you have the Matrix and then you have people that are outside of it, but the Matrix can still attack those outside sources, and they're always manipulating things from within, and everything in the virtual world is never what it seems because of the control that the Matrix has on people inside of it. And I wish there was an element of that in this book. The fact that the characters can be completely, the fact that Wade has gone 16 chapters hiding in this little bunker away from his house. Nobody's been able to find him, and the only way that the IOI has tracked him was his profile, but they've only done it to his permanent address and not found out like where he currently is located. It seems, with the way that the internet works, it's kind of shocking, at least up to this point, that hasn't been explored at all. We're just supposed to accept the fact that the Oasis isn't hackable, even though, you know, for the past 25 years, hacking has been something that has been very commonplace in technology, especially when it comes to computers and the internet. So that's where it's a little disappointing and the book to me seems very shallow at this point. We're about a third of the way through, so there's still a lot more book to get to, and so hopefully that changes. But so far, it's the suspension of disbelief on certain things not happening and the plot holes that are created because of that it's becoming very, very large and kind of disappointing for me. So I am very curious on how you're feeling about where we are in the book, though. If you agree with me, if you're looking past that and you're enjoying it a lot, or if you think I'm just completely wrong, let me know in the comment section below. I really want to know what your feelings are about what we've read at this point. The question that I have for you that you can discuss with your kids is, in these chapters, Wade did meet with the IOI, and he was offered some pretty lucrative job offer to work with the IOI with the knowledge that he had millions of dollars, and job security and a new life, a life that he didn't have at this point. But he wouldn't be if he were the one to win the game, he wouldn't get the massive prize. He would just get a small portion of whatever his salary was at that point. And what I'm curious is, or the question I have for you to discuss with your kids is, if you were in Wade's position, you could either get a very well-paying job that you are guaranteed to get money, but it's not going to be nearly as much as you could if you won the game. Would you do that? Or would you say, no, I'm going to go out on a limb and do it by myself and try to win the big prize, but there's still a lot of people that still might beat you? Would you go just aim, go for the big prize? Would you cash in with a really nice offer, or would you go for the really big prize and go out on it alone? Talk about that and find out what their answers are, and write them in the comment section below. Again, really curious what your kids would do, and also let me know on how your kids are enjoying the book through chapter 16. So our assignment moving forward, though, or for next week, will be another 5 chapters. Let's do 17 through 21. Yeah, that is. So it's the part of it's the first part of level 2. So 17 to 30 through 21. I'll see you next week, and enjoy the rest of your book. Bye.